How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike the Pig Crumb. Mike, how are you?
I love having the opening back. I love Brendan, but the opening is it's nice. It's the start of the show. It's been years of that opening, and so it's like, okay, here we go. Time to lock in.
Yeah, I know Brendan had a little bit of a issue last week, if you will, with his intro.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. He was like because he wanted to read the intro for Elazar. He wanted to make sure that was good. So
Yeah.
he started thinking about it and then looked and stuff and it caught him. The more he does it though, not that don't get me wrong, we hope that he's our third guy and our account manager, but we don't want him hosting. We want you on, of course. But the more he does it, the more it'll come to him like that.
Yeah, I mean, want to get all those reps, and hey, he could have his own show one day. You never know.
I would not be surprised at all.
Well, Mike, where can we find you on X, sir?
Letter C, letter D, Piglet. Nice and easy, guys.
I am Paul Ryan, and you can find me on X at Paul_Ryan15. Well, unfortunately, Brendan couldn't be here tonight. He wasn't able to post bail on his latest arrest, so he's looking at some hard time, guys. Keep him in your prayers. No, in all seriousness, it's unfortunate that Brendan couldn't be here tonight. I was looking forward to seeing which players he likes in this draft, and he's a big part of the show and the future of the show. Well, Mike, here we are with episode 1 of year 5 of this podcast. And, man, I can't actually say that without smiling. It's been a crazy ride, my friend.
I know. Isn't that crazy? It seems like a year or two ago we were talking about how I wanted to do a fantasy draft, but I'm not stupid. I'm not letting CeeDee Lamb fall to 17. I'm going to make it realistic. Then CeeDee Lamb fell to 17. Crazy.
Yeah, 5 years ago, Mike and I recorded our first ever Cowboys mock draft episode, and every year since there, that's how we ring in the new year. And just like Mike said, 5 years ago, the Dallas Cowboys shocked the world when they took CeeDee Lamb at pick 17. Mike, I don't know if you remember this, but I'll never forget how many issues we used to have trying to record on our phones and making sure our internet was strong enough to run on Anchor, man.
Bro, remember the Dak episode that just disappeared? Maybe the best episode, definitely of that first year. That was the best episode we had, and it disappeared into nothingness. Yeah. And we both wanted to cry. It was such a good episode. God, I can't believe it.
Hey, maybe it's best that episode disappeared into the abyss because we talked about how we would take Carson Wentz over Dak at the time. We wouldn't be mad if we had Carson Wentz and not Dak. So, we've saved ourselves from each other, I guess.
Yeah, that in 2017, Wentz earned that, man. And you know how I am. I said the same thing about Hurts prior to last season, and now this season, obviously Dak was an all-pro and second in MVP. I won't even let people say they take Herbert over him right now. There's no, other than he's younger. There is literally no reason you can make a case to take Herbert over Dak right now going into this year. Period. So it fluctuates. I'm a year-to-year guy, and at that time, Wentz was playing better. They built a really great team around him, and he looked really great. And it turns out that surrounding team means a lot, because I can't imagine what Dak would do on I don't even want to think about it on his team, but on a different team that built their team in a complete way, the way Philly does, man, it'd be scary.
Dak in San Francisco, wouldn't that be a sight to see, sir?
Man, let me do that. I got that glare coming through there. Let me shut that. Sorry about that.
No worries. Well, Mike, it's safe to say we've come a long way. As always, I'm excited for tonight's discussion. But before we discuss anything, we must discuss one thing and one thing only. Of course, I'm referring to my personal favorite segment, Meatless Monday. Mike, tell me something. There was something good on the menu today.
There was something good. My reset was supposed to start today, but when I have a reset coming up, I take things out of the freezer that needs to get used, and then I go through them. And then once everything's used and we're clear, then I use my reset. So it was supposed to start today, but I had some ingredients left over that I needed to use, and I ended up making a broccoli, cheese, potato pot pie. And it was so good. Oh my God.
Dude, that sounds so freaking good, bro.
It was really good. I double paste. I put a pastry pie crust on the bottom. Yeah. Hard baked it so that would, it wouldn't, because otherwise if you just put it in and bake it, the top's going to get done and brown and the bottom's still going to be a mess, uncooked, because it's got all the filling in there. So I hard baked it so it was just about done on the bottom, filled it with the filling, topped it with the other pie crust, brushed it with egg yolk, salt, pepper, cut a couple slits in it, put it in the oven for like 45 minutes, and it was so good. Oh my Lord.
Dude, I love chicken pot pie. The last time I had a pot pie, I picked one up from this, it's a grocery store. It's called Roy Pope's Grocery, and they make everything fresh. And they had a brisket pot pie. My God, bro. Delicious, delicious, delicious. Well, Mike, I know you got a Lakers game tonight. We won't get started on food. I don't want you to miss any of that game, man, because we could talk about food, as people know, for a long, long time on this show. So let's get after it. We've seen and watched a few drafts since we started the show, and I mentioned the CeeDee Lamb pick earlier. When we were this close to the draft, names start to get leaked, and there's always that one player that you keep hearing and seeing get mocked to a particular team. Tyler Guyton is the player that I've seen being mocked to the Cowboys lately. Would that pick be more similar to a Tyler Smith pick or a Leighton Vander Esch for you?
I'd say closer to Tyler, but I think there's more questions than Tyler had. I had a second round grade on both. Tyler had played offensive line more than Guyton has.
Right.
Both of them have natural gifts, size, footwork, stuff like that. But Guyton has a lot more stuff to learn. And one thing we don't know is when Tyler Smith was picked, I told everybody I don't like the value because I have a second round grade on him, and it's a late, like a middle of the second. It's not like he could creep into the first like Guyton might be, but in that draft it was a full second round pick. I didn't expect him to go in the first, but when he was picked, I said, look, I don't like the value of it, but in 2-3 years nobody's going to care because he has the that drive to be one of those dudes. We don't know that about Guyton because we haven't been in the interviews. We haven't heard of the interviews. We haven't had anybody come out and say like, oh no, this dude's like last one in or first one in, last one out. He's a worker. He's going to get better, this and that. So if you get a guy like that with Guyton's natural gifts, you'll be happy in a couple of years no matter what, because you're drafting for a 10-year player at this point, not a next year player. But if he doesn't, he has enough flaws where he could risk being a bust. He could. I'm not gonna say he couldn't. He has issues.
Yeah, I was listening to Jeff Kavanaugh talk about him, and Tyler Guyton with all the physical traits. The dude was a halfback at one point at Oklahoma. That's kind of scary, man.
Yeah, he I'm trying to think if Guyton's the one that was a tight end that moved over late, or am I mixing that up? I wish I.
No, it was Guyton. It was Guyton.
It was Guyton. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a thing, he's learning the position on the fly. So
yeah,
it's like finding somebody that's like, damn, look at the way his size, his arm length, his footwork, his abilities, athleticism, everything's there. But if you just wish you got him 7 years ago to build him up, because the worry is that it takes you 3 years to build him into that guy. And then you're going into paying him a second contract. And you really would like him to be that guy going into year 2, like Tyler was. I mean, he was good in his first year. He survived. And then he was an all-pro. Like, that's what you want.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, I think it's kind of set in stone, or at least we think so, that offensive lineman is going to be the pick there at 24. But have you heard any other names or positions the Cowboys could be targeting at pick 24?
honestly, no. I'm gonna be. How you doing, Jordan? And I saw Prescott was there too. How you doing, Prescott? I don't. I think it's gonna be offensive line. I mean, I could fake it with you and go, oh, if this edge fell or they traded back, they could do this or Byron Murphy, and no, it's going to be offensive line. I'm going to be real about it. Demarcus Robinson is somebody that was on the 30 list. Byron Murphy's on the 30 list. And I know the next question was about defensive players, but with no offensive ones available, I'll just roll right into it if that's cool with you.
Yeah, go for it.
Those would be the two that, like, if something happened, I can't see Byron Murphy falling to like 30, and I can't see Dallas at 24 going, oh, Byron Murphy's there, I'm going to take him instead of trading back and accumulating picks. I just don't see that. So what would have to happen is they would have to trade back maybe into the early second round, and just too many guys went, and Darius Robinson ended up being there, and they were like, oh, you know what? We'll go ahead and get him. We had a first-round grade on him or something like that. But it's like very low chance that it's not a center or a tackle.
So would you rather have a Chop Robinson or would you rather have Tyler Guyton?
Oh, man. Damn, that's tough because I have Chop Robinson rated higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess BPA I would. My thing is, I don't think you'll care here's my thing. I think Chop Robinson's going to be a very good defensive end, and I think Tyler Guyton will end up being a very good left or right tackle for somebody.
Right.
So I guess I would just go BPA and say Chop Robinson, but man, that draft pick is I don't know. Maybe Micah moves the linebacker then. And you got Chop Robinson, Tank, and Sam Williams rotating at defensive end with Micah moving down there on clear pass rush downs. I guess that's the value of it. But I think the way those two tags would go, I think they'd both be second round grades. I think Dallas would take Guyton because they would go, wow, it's close enough. Give us the tackle.
I got you. Mike, in my mock draft travels, a player that's been falling a lot that I've been kind of surprised of. I'm not sure what you think of this player. Hopefully we can discuss that a little bit. But as a Cooper DeJean, safety out of Iowa, if he's there at 24, would that be a CeeDee Lamb type of scenario? And could you see Dallas taking him?
I don't think it's a CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was like a top 5 player in a draft. Yeah. Fell like 3 times longer than he should have. Cooper DeJean at best he could go between 15 and 20, but we'll probably go somewhere in the 20s. Right. And my problem with him is I don't know what Mike Zimmer would use him as. I think he could play corner, but in Zimmer's world he might be a safety, and I just think we have too many safeties. I mean, you're going to be struggling to get Wanye Thomas and Marquise Bell snaps, and they've shown they could play defense, So I'm just not a guy that's looking for safety. And the thing is, I know Bobby Belt talks about what Zimmer asked safeties to do. We don't really have smarter guys like that, but Zimmer might only be here 1 year. You're asking me to use a first round pick on a guy for Zimmer, and will he even get on the field this year? Like, he's still a rookie going up against Donovan Wilson, who's been around 5 years, and Malik Hooker, who was a first round pick that's been around more than 5 years. And you have 2 other guys that have been in your building, and know Al Harris and have worked with Al Harris and have been on the field for us already. So I wouldn't be able to get into drafting a safety personally.
So you don't think he could potentially take Jordan Lewis's starting spot?
What would happen is Deron Bland would take Jordan Lewis's starting spot, and Cooper DeJean would play outside with Diggs. Okay. That's what happened. So when you brought a third corner in, you would move Deron Bland inside the slot.
Back to slot. Okay. I got you. Yeah, that was just somebody, man. Doing the mock drafts, I'm reading about him and watching highlights and stuff. I'm like, this guy seems pretty versatile. Seems like a smart player. Seems like somebody. I mean, corner is a bit of a sneaky need for this team. So kind of got excited about the possibility.
He's good. I just don't think Dallas will draft him because I don't think Dallas will see him as a corner, which is the real issue for me. Is for me he's at worst he's Brian Branch, to where you kind of play him at corner a lot, even though he's a safety. He does mostly corner stuff even more than he does safety stuff. So at worst he would be that type of player for you, but I just don't. I think Dallas has got a pretty good safety room right now. I mean, they're loaded up.
He would be the reverse Byron Jones, where he's playing at corner, but he should be playing a safety and that kind of role.
Yeah, I think he would be one that could play corner, but Dallas saw Ramsey as a safety and not a corner, and I think he would be the same way. Like they would say, nah, he could be a safety guy. All
right, Mike. We know the CeeDee Lamb pick. That's like a legendary pick for us, especially for the show. But who was this year's CeeDee Lamb pick for you? Give us one defense, one for offense.
Troy Fautanu is my top, my guy. Like, he's the guy that even I would not trade back away from.
Okay.
Yeah, if he fell, he would be to run the pickup immediately at 24. That's the offensive tackle from the Washington Huskies. I would leave him at tackle and leave Tyler Smith at guard. He would be an excellent guard as well. You could pretty much play him wherever you wanted to, and he would be great. But he would be that guy for me. I don't really have a defensive one, to be honest. I guess Jared Verse if he fell, but I don't. There's not really a defensive player that if they fell, I would not want to trade back and get more picks away from.
Are you not really that excited about this defensive class, or?
It's not that. It's that I'm not excited about them. The O-line class is really good, and if I was going to do something that like O-line just has the right value for where we are and fits need. So like when I look, I see second round, I go, okay, wide receiver. Or if the right guy fell, like I see running back as a third or fourth round is where the big value is, where you could get a guy that's like, damn, we're getting this production out of the third, fourth round. Wide receiver would be that for me in the second. The first round would be O-line. Now, a lot of times there's 2 or 3 positions that has that, but in this draft, I would say DB would be the other one. But we just don't need it enough, and the Terry and Arnold would have to drop. But man, there'd be just no way. It would be like more than CeeDee Lamb if that guy fell. It'd be unbelievable. I could say him, I guess, because I said that about CeeDee Lamb. The no way he falls. So I guess I'll say Arnold, the cornerback, Alabama.
Yeah.
Well,
what about Byron Murphy? Would that be exciting for you? 24.
And I honestly, I like other guys. I don't really like the first round guys at DT. I like Fisk in the second round. I like I like Hall a lot. In the third, maybe. I don't.
Hall out of Baylor, right?
No, I think it's Michael Hall out of Ohio State.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, damn. That's how off I am. I think that's right. If that's wrong, comments, kill me for it. I apologize.
Too many mocks, man.
And I'm doing so many. I know I've done 2 articles. I did an article Saturday and article Sunday. I'll have one coming up on the day of Thursday. I'll probably have to do 2. It's going to be a lot of work this week.
My man can't even enjoy the draft. It's a shame.
No, I'm gonna enjoy it. It's the only thing Cowboys fans get to enjoy. The damn draft.
All right, so my guys, Mike. I was just kind of throwing darts here, but listening to smart people like you, offense would be Olumuyiwa Fashanu, tackle out of Penn State on offense, and defense I already talked about, and Cooper DeJean, safety out of Iowa.
Ole Fashanu. Yeah, Penn State tackle. I wouldn't mind him falling. I would.
At 24, you like it or no?
That would be one that I wouldn't mind either way. If they traded back away from him, I would understand, even though you're trading away from a clear first-round tackle. But I wouldn't be like, why didn't you make a trade or get somebody? If you got him to fall to 24, you're happy if you take him. Go right ahead. Start at left side next to Tyler Smith for the next decade.
Hey, I ain't mad about that. If the Cowboys were to get wiped out of the O-line and don't trade back, what position could you see them targeting at 24?
Oh, I was looking like, damn, I don't have an answer for that. Edge. Okay. I could see that if the right Darius Robinson would work there. I don't know about Latu. Latu's injury is a little bit too much for a first-round pick, but I could see Chop Robinson or especially Darius Robinson as the future DeMarcus Lawrence. Bigger guy, sets the edge, plays the run well, can add a little bit of pressure, move inside to 3 tech on passing downs. So yeah, I would say edge would be the other spot.
Yeah, you got to love the value there if you can. If an edge defender falls into your lap at pick 24 in the draft, man, especially with 5 years of control, got to love that. What positions would be nightmare scenarios for you at 24? Offense and defense.
Okay, so I know we said no running back, but I put it in as a part of a thing that there's not first-round talents, in my opinion, at running back, linebacker, and I put safety because DeJean to me was a corner. He is a first-round talent. I would have just played him at corner. Right. So I put those 3 because there's no first-round talent, so that would be a nightmare. I put wide receiver because the class is too deep. I think a first-round pick would be a waste on one, to be honest. I just don't think, unless you're getting one of the top 3, I think Byron Thomas – Xavier Worthy, and the next 10 guys, whether it's Leggett and Pearsall or McCorley and all them, are all too close to tags to take one at 24 when you can get one of them at 56 or 87. So I would hate to get one at 24. And then also I have tight end safety because no need to draft one. You have guys that could play those for the next few years set up. You have Marquise Bell and Wanye and Donovan Wilson signed for a while, and you have Jake Ferguson, Luke Schoonmaker, Stevens Jr. all signed up as your tight end. So I had a lot of first-round positions I'm trying to avoid.
I got you. Yeah, we kind of had the same wavelength here on the offense with wide receiver. And for defense, I don't really have one on defense either. Again, we kind of had the same thinking. Reason being is if we were to get wiped out at O-line and they were forced to kind of take a best player available, I wouldn't mind seeing them take an edge defender or, I know you don't like this, but what if they were to take an Edgerrin Cooper? I know you don't have a first-round grade on him, but he's arguably the best linebacker in this class. I mean, pairing him with Demarion Overshone, and we don't know out of Damone Clark and what's going to happen with him. And, of course, we have Kendricks. I don't know. I mean, I would like to see them have to make a decision where they don't draft for need, like just to see what they would do.
Look, if this team can get Sam Williams to play at a rate that he could play the opposite defensive end regularly with Tank, and you can employ Micah, Demario Overshone, and Edgerrin Cooper as standing up guys, just you don't know who's running, who's covering, that Mike Zimmer would come up with the most disgusting blitzes. And Donovan Wilson is an elite blitzer. So you would have 4 quarterbacks would be freaking out on where the hell people are going to come from. So I wouldn't hate it. At 24, I'd kind of hate picking Edgerrin Cooper. I'm not going to lie. But if they traded back and picked up an extra pick and got Edgerrin Cooper like 29th, 30th, 31st through 40, I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. I when you have to make a snap decision, kind of seeing how much work you really put in. I'll never doubt Will McClay on that, but just kind of seeing if the Cowboys will try to force something or if they'll take another best player available like they did with CeeDee and like we've seen them, do in years past. we talked about wide receivers, Mike. Rank these 5 wide receivers in terms of skill and fit for the Cowboys. Ladd McConkey, Jalen McMillan, Xavier Worthy, Malachi Corley, and Brendan Rice.
Okay, so I got it first to fifth. Ladd McConkey is my first. Xavier Worthy is my second. Okay. Malachi Corley is my third. Jalen McMillan is my fourth. And Brendan Rice is my fifth. I can go through, a little breakdown of each one if you want, but that would be my order of the people. And it's not as much fit for Dallas as much as just I think all 5 of them could play for Dallas. It's just which ones I think are better prospects, so that I had stacked. That was my stack, was those 5 in that order.
Of the 5, who do you think would pair best with CD and what Dak likes to do?
You think I'm going to say Jalen McMillan because he's from Fresno, but I'm not. I'm going to be honest and say Malachi Corley. I think Malachi Corley is light, very light. Remember, this is a pick somewhere between pick 40 and 70 type guy.
Right.
Not a top 20 guy, but he's very Dez-like for me. Like, throw him a screen, and the first guy he'll put on the ground and then run for 50 yards. In the red zone, throw it to him, Michael Gallup style, and just watch him take it off someone's head. He doesn't, like Dez, he's not a great polished route runner. He's only going to do a few things for you, unless he gets a coach that can refine him up. But I like Malachi Corley. I think having a guy that could do the Gallup job, but also take a wide receiver screen and go for a big play for it, run a under route, catch it, break a tackle, and run for 30 yards. I think having someone like that with a precision guy like Lamb and a seam guy like Jake Ferguson would be very difficult to guard for offenses.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might say we need somebody to take the top off, but we already have Brandon Cooks. It would be nice to see somebody who can do a little bit more behind the line of scrimmage, bring a little bit more of that physical ability that we like to see. That's the first time I've heard him being compared to Des Bryant. I always hear a lot about Deebo Samuel, and we know what he can do. That skill set paired in this offense, that would be nice.
I feel like Deebo is a lazy one because he could take running back snaps. When is the last time you've seen them throw a ball up to Deebo, a 50-50 deep ball to Deebo Samuels, and him take it off someone's head? Like, he doesn't do that. Yeah. That's a Dez thing. I get the yak stuff. I get the yards after tackle, but that was a Dez thing too. Dez was a yak guy. I never understood why. And he's not as talented as Dez Bryant. He's just not that kind of athlete, but light, a Dez light type of player.
I'm not sure. I don't, watch every 49ers game, but I can't remember the last time I saw Deebo make a contested catch. Not saying that he hasn't or that he can't, but every time I see him go for a long gain or a long touchdown, he's wide open.
Yeah, they do a good job of running West Coast principles off motion or doing stuff like that and letting him get open, and they have weapons everywhere, so it's hard to trap him or bracket him or put one over the top on him and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he gets coverages that are beneficial. He gets the ball and then he breaks the tackle and that's where he does his real work.
Yeah, Ayuk's more of their 50-50 guy.
Yes, I agree.
Gotta love Ayuk. I got a little bit ahead of myself here and skipped a question, Mike, but can you see a scenario where Dallas trades out of the first round entirely? And how do you feel about Dallas not having a first-round pick in this draft?
I would be extremely good with that. I think picks 20 to 40, 45 are real similar. I can go through in that range. So after J.C. Latham, you have what? Guyton, you have Sua Matia, you have
Marius Mims.
Mims has a little bit higher upside than those guys. Mims could be Mims in 3 years could be like, damn, how'd this guy fall to 24? You should have just took him. He's the new Tyron Smith. He has that level of like possibility. Mm-hmm. But there's so many players like Chop Robinson, Darius Robinson, Braden Fisk. I'm trying to go through. Jackson Powers Johnson would be in there. Zach Frazier would be in there. You could go through. There's 2 or 3 corners. Like you can go through in between picks 20 and 40, 45. I just don't see much difference in them. Yeah. All good, but there's a quality in that 20 to 50 range that's like really high quality players. And so I'm good trade back. I would say no further than 38 with the Commanders. Mm-hmm. If you make a trade in there and pick up a bunch of picks, I still think you get a guy, a Sua Matia, a Zach Frazier, Xavier Worthy could be in that range. Darius Robinson could be in that range. There's enough guys to where Tyler Guyton could fall in that range. So there's enough guys where you could get a guy in that and then pick up 2 more picks depending on how far you go back. So yeah, I'm all for Captain Trade Down, Jeff Kavanaugh style.
Commanders have 2 second-round picks, right?
Yes, and if you went back to 38, you'd probably, if they were moving up 14 spots from the second to the first round, and they were getting a 5th-round option, and we were losing our 5th-round option, they're going to have to pay for that. So yeah, you'd probably get that, or get a 3-4, an early 3rd and an early 4th is not bad either. Right. In that situation, if you don't mind trading, grab the 2nd and then trade back in the 2nd and pick up a couple picks.
Yeah, I really feel like that 4th round, just based on the mocks I've done, if you can get you can get an offensive lineman, then you can get a wide receiver, and then just dealer's choice, and then you can get yourself a quality running back in the 4th round.
Yep, I agree.
Would love to see that, man. I would not be mad at all about a trade back. You talked about when you're ranking these wide receivers, you had Brendan Rice as your 5th wide receiver. Could you see Dallas drafting Brendan Rice, not just for his talent, but because of the headlines it would generate, kind of similar to the Deuce Vaughn pick last year?
And question, because I wanted to ask this on air because I didn't. Why would it? Who's connected to him in the organization?
Well, not in the organization, but being Jerry Rice's son. And then, Jerry Rice being a 49er.
I was thinking because Deuce Vaughn was and I'm like, who's he connected to? Okay, just because it's Jerry Rice's son. Oh.
Right.
I don't think that would play a part in the drafting, but I think he could be drafted. I have a few notes that are really, really scribbled on here. Big man with route running. Good hands, but he lacks top athleticism. I wrote it in a thing about this big, so I had to look at my scribbles. Yeah, I could definitely see them drafting him because he could do things that Gallup did, and if developed correctly, he could take Cook's spot after the 2024 season. So I definitely see him draftable for that reason, but being Jerry Rice's son that didn't even click in my head. I was not thinking that at all. I was like, I wonder why connected to Deuce. What is he in the organization that would bring? But Jerry Rice's son. That didn't even pop in my head.
Sorry for not making that clearer, Mike. I
apologize. No, that I should have. The fact, dude, there's so many with Jeremiah Trotter, like. There's so many players' kids nowadays.
Bloodlines, yeah.
Yeah, that you don't even go into it. I don't even go into it like that. Like, I don't think like, oh, well, they draft Jeremiah Trotter because his dad was a former Eagle, this and that. I think like, no, he's too short and doesn't have the length. Like that's where my mind goes right away.
Well, you're thinking the right way. I'm thinking the wrong way, Mike.
No, it's Dallas, dude. It's Dallas.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I asked, but you've got the right mindset just because you've been in draft mode for what, 2 months now, 3 months now.
It's so funny that it didn't even think like, oh, Jerry Rice, the old Niner, the Niner to Cowboy thing. Not even a thought. But if you would have said the same thing about Jeremiah Trotter Jr., I'd have been the same way. Like, what would be the excitement about? Oh, hello,
Yeah.
division rivals. Oh yeah, I wouldn't even.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Mike, what is your perfect draft for the Cowboys? And what I mean by that is what positions would be drafted where and in what order?
Okay, so mine would be trade back in the first, get your offensive tackle, whether Guyton, Suamatia, he would work as well. One of those two. I wouldn't want to go too much further than that. And then I would use the 3 day 2 picks on center, wide receiver, and running back because I'm trying to overload offense. And then fill the defense on day 3. Get a DT, get a corner, and hope that you could develop them like you have Anthony Brown and Deron Bland. Obviously, we're not going to ask for another Deron Bland, but if you can get an Anthony Brown out of it or a Donovan Wilson at corner, you'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And linebacker, DT, corner in day 3. So that would be mine. I would go heavy offense with the top 100 guys. Make sure I got 2 offensive linemen and 2 skills, one of them being a running back, and then day 3, all defensive guys, pretty much.
So I've seen a lot of, which I don't really care for, but who am I? I've seen a lot of mock drafts where the Cowboys are double dipping with their first 2 picks. They're taking offensive linemen. You'd be okay with that?
If it's the right, okay. So say first round you got Guyton or Suamatia, and then in the second, Jackson Powers Johnson falls to you because of medical, or Zach. I can't imagine Zach Frazier falling like that, but if he did, or Van Pran, right, in that would be in that area. I'd probably want to trade back a little bit, maybe into the 60s before I took Van Pran. But any of those guys, yeah, I'd take them. Now, if we got, say, Barton, and then the second pick, I'm looking for a tackle, Blake Fisher, Suamatia, if they happen to fall, I don't think they will, would be options. Maybe Armaginaj from Penn State, I think. No, that's Fashanu. I'm not going to try to butcher his name because I don't have the notes written down with the I write them down with the way to say them from Brugler's guide next to it, but I don't have his name here. I would like offensive tackle then center more than I would center and then offensive tackle. I don't think offensive tackle stretches past like the first 8 guys.
So if let's just say they took Barton at pick 24, who would you like to see them pair him with?
Barton is 24, and we didn't trade back then.
Okay, let's just say we trade back, but we picked up Barton with our first pick. Let's say pick 30 or 32.
Man, it would have to be, say, Zach Frazier, because Barton's not going to be there. So we trade back and we get Zach Frazier, a center. Either way, we're getting a center.
That's fine, yeah.
I would probably want to go wide receiver second. I think that's where the value of wide receiver is the second round. Now, if they went Blake Fisher or if one of the injured guys fell like Patrick Wilson or Latu, I would be good with that, taking a risk on them. But I would say wide receiver would be I just think the value at wide receiver at 56 is going to be pretty good. Like a Leggett could be there, a Malachi Corley could be there, a McMillan could be there, a Pearsall could be there, a Polk could be there. Like there's going to be a plethora. And if one of those falls to you at 56 and you're getting a second round graded receiver, a guy that isn't like, well, if he develops, maybe we can. It's like after Cooks leaves, this guy's going to be across from Lamb, period. Like that, I would like to nail that.
Man, Leggett, I'm getting a lot of Eskridge vibes. When Seattle drafted him with a second round pick and he hasn't really done much, I get kind of those vibes from Leggett.
I get the other Seattle guy from Leggett, DK. I think I think he's DK. He is very big and very fast. And the all the other wide receiver stuff he's got to get better at, but he catches the ball really well and he is super big and super fast.
You're no concern that it took him so long to break out and do anything in college?
Yeah, but that's why a guy that's that big and that fast with that good of hands goes in the second or third round instead of the first, because you didn't see it a lot.
Yeah. Third round I'd be cool with. Second round I'd be like, man, that's kind of shaky.
Third round would be what I'd prefer, especially for him. Second round I'd like to go Pearsall, Polk, Malachi Corley, one of those type.
I got you. All right, Mike. Here we are. What started it up with our origin of it all, our fantasy, a realistic and nightmare mock draft. This is my favorite part of this episode. Give us your fantasy scenario at pick 24.
Fantasy scenario for me is obviously the CeeDee Lamb pick. Troy Fautanu, offensive tackle, Washington, falls to us. We don't even trade back. We get him.
Yeah.
Our left side is just disgusting for the next decade plus of Tyler Smith and Troy Fautanu next to each other. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I'd be so happy.
Well, before you destroyed this guy, my fantasy scenario was Cooper DeJean at pick 24.
There's nothing to destroy. Like he's a first round player. I just don't like that Dallas would not play him at corner likely. They'd want to move him to safety, and they just paid Donovan Wilson, and Malik Hooker's there, and they have Marquise Bell and Wanye Thomas. Mm-hmm. So I just don't know. If you told me corner DeJean and our three corners are going to be Diggs, DeJean, Deron Bland, and Jordan Lewis becomes your fourth roamer guy, your extra guy, I don't hate that at all. I'm okay with it.
That's kind of what I had in my mind, but you said they I know he's marked as a safety. You said Dallas will probably play him as a safety, so it's not that enticing. But prior to hearing all that, that's where I was at. Give us your realistic scenario.
Realistic play one. Round one is a trade back, and then they select somewhere between 28 and 35. They select Kingsley Suamatia, offensive tackle, BYU.
Like it. My realistic was Tyler Guyton, just because, man, I keep hearing his name everywhere. You know what I mean? Seeing it everywhere, reading about it everywhere. Just seeing Jeff Kavanaugh talk about it, Dane Brugler talk about it. It's like there's a reason this guy keeps getting mocked here. You know what I mean?
He is the most likely, even in a trade. That would, if you made me bet, I would say him. And if he works like Tyler Smith works, he's going to be a complete monster. It just might take a year or two. We might need his rookie year. You're going to have to live through some growing pains, and it looks like Dallas is okay with that. Looks like Dallas isn't really going all for this year. So taking a Tyler Guyton, a guy that could be your starting left tackle for over a decade, it's absolutely fine. I have no issues with it. I wouldn't hate it. It's just people have to realize that 2024 is going to be a growing pains year, probably for most of the team.
Dane Brugler's evaluation of him did get me the most excited, though. Like, did inspire some hope.
Oh, yeah. Dane loved him. He had him as his sixth best tackle in a draft of a lot of great tackles. Like, see, I have Suamatia higher than Guyton, but I think Guyton has the higher ceiling.
I got you. All right, Mike, give us your nightmare pick at pick 24.
Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver, LSU. Just
interesting. Okay.
Absolutely no reason to draft a wide receiver at 24 when there's guys at 56 and 87 that'll be fine to pair with Cooks and Lamb and Tolbert and Jalen Brooks. Like, no reason to get a wide receiver at 24.
I hear you. My nightmare pick would be Michael Penix Jr. at pick 24. That would let me know that Dak is not going to be a Cowboy in 2025, sir.
Yeah, that would be very sad. Part of me wants him to be able to go somewhere where I believe he could win, and the Joneses kind of deserve what they get. But I just want him on my team because I just like the person and player Dak is.
Yeah, exactly. Said likewise. Okay, Mike, pick 56. My fantasy pick was linebacker Peyton Wilson. Reason being,
he's awesome.
He arguably is the best linebacker in this draft. You talked to a lot of people, but it's so many injury concerns that are scaring people away. I said I have him as fantasy because again, this would be like the Cowboys where their board gets wiped out and they're just having to literally take the best player available. And Peyton Wilson, I think, would fit that scenario.
Number one, he's absolutely the best linebacker in the class, and there is a large divot between him and Cooper and Colson and them on the second tier. He is much, much better than they are. He just has the injury worry. So, yeah, I have no issues with that at all.
All right, what's your fantasy pick at 56?
Zach Frazier somehow falling, or Jackson Powers Johnson would work too. But I was using Zach Frazier because, man, if he fell there, good God. Troy Fotnew, Tyler Smith, Zach Frazier, Zach Martin. Steele could be last year's Steele, and we'd have one of the best offensive lines in football. Like, that would be so nice. Those two picks would be beautiful.
What if it was Tyler Guyton and Zach Frazier? How would you feel?
Good, great. I feel great. I'd feel great about it. I don't have Guyton. Guyton isn't far behind. I think Guyton has more of a chance to be a bust than Suamatia, but he also has a higher ceiling. So you could be getting a better player in the end. I just think you'd have more growing pains early and a slight bust chance if he won't work hard enough at the next level to get himself better.
I got you. Who's your realistic pick at 56?
Mine is that it's an injury fall guy. So Peyton Wilson, Jackson Powers Johnson, or Latu. One of those. I think one of those guys fall. We know how Dallas is about if they have Peyton Wilson or Jackson Powers Johnson or Latu with first round grades, and they're there at 56, they'll go, look, it's worth it to get the first round player, at this value. So we've seen it plenty of times before. So I'm going to go with injury fallback guy.
How would you feel about Latu at 56?
Oh, I would. He's my number one edge in the draft. You just can't pick him in the first round. He medically retired once already. Like, you can't use a first round pick on him. But at 56, oh my God, I would be. He's a better. Okay, how am I going to say this right? Micah Parsons is a more natural, gifted athlete, and he uses that to be maybe the best pass rusher in football. As far as knowing how to rush the passer, tools to rush the passer, Latu is light years ahead of Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons is going into his third year, or it's fourth year? Third year.
This will be year 4.
Yeah, fourth year. Like Micah Parsons doesn't know how to use his hands or counters like Latu does in any way. Latu is by far the best pass rusher in this draft. And if he didn't have injury concerns, he'd be edge one. He up here, he's got it. He knows how to set you up. He, as Vach would say, he's got a PhD or a black belt in pass rushing. And if there was not injury concerns, there's no way he gets out of the top 15 picks, probably the top 10 picks. He might be the first defensive player picked if it wasn't for his injury concerns.
Man, I hope and pray does not fall to like a Philly or a Giants or Commanders,
Or if he does, then we gotta wish the worst on him. No, we don't.
No. My realistic pick is Trey Benson, running back out of Florida State, which I wouldn't hate.
No, I wouldn't hate that. That's a good. So what's your first two guys, Guyton and Benson?
Yeah.
That feels more realistic than mine, except for I do think mine will be trade back. I do like.
Or, I mean, to be totally honest, probably Jonathan Brooks is more likely at 56 over anybody. Wouldn't you think?
I think he gets picked before. I think he's a top 50 pick.
Okay. All right. Well, let somebody else have that because, I mean, a lot of people, again, smart people I've heard a lot of smart people say they like Trey Benson more than Jonathan Brooks. And when I was listening to a podcast and somebody was breaking down Jonathan Brooks' like explosiveness and really not that explosive, not that many breakaway plays, not, plays beyond like 10 yards or more was kind of lacking there. So I don't know if I want another running back like that.
my want, this is my issue with Dallas too, is my want, honestly, if we're being, we're talking just ourselves here, I want Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson to get drafted before 56 because I think the value linebacker, wide receiver, there's better value players there that'll match up with the running backs, and the running backs have way better, like Marshawn Lloyd in the third sounds great. Jalen Wright in the third. Like, I would rather have my running back come from the third round. My problem is, say last year I said, look, I want to make sure we get rid of these tight ends before it gets to Dallas. We don't need it. We got Jake Ferguson. Get rid of Sam Laporta and get Mayer out of there and Dalton Kincaid. Get them all out of there so Dallas does not get tight end in the second round. Then what do? They're like, oh, shit, all the tight ends are going. We'll take Luke Schoonmaker. So my worry is that I go, hey, we got rid of Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks. Sweet. We're not going to get a running back at 56. And then they're like, Marshawn Lloyd, the 56th pick. And I'm like, oh, my God, what are we doing? They freak out. So I partly want those running backs gone, but I want them gone if our team is smart enough to go, hey, all these guys we can get the next pick. Don't get them here.
Right, I got you. All right, Mike, what's your nightmare pick here at 56?
It sounds like he's moving up people's boards. I don't know. I don't like Patrick Paul. That would be, if you were out on offensive tackle in the first and you got Patrick Paul, and you plan on playing him the first year, I think you're going to be in trouble. I get his PFF grades, and a lot of people are talking about his length and everything like that. I think he's a 2-year project at least. And I wouldn't really, the word is that he may sneak into the first round. So God, of course it'd be Dallas that gets him, but I don't like the Patrick Paul pick at 56. I wouldn't like that. Now at 87, I honestly would be like, damn, that's a pretty good value.
Yeah.
That's how my mind works though.
I hear you. Nightmare for me, and it's nothing against the player. This would just be me feeling like Cowboys are forcing need, and that's going to be Cedric Van Pran Granger, excuse me. Yeah. Again, it's nothing against the player. It's just I don't want them going need all throughout this draft.
You're going to hate that I think okay, so you know how the 1 year I thought Overshown was going to be drafted to Dallas, and then Ridgeway was another guy that I thought would be drafted to Dallas. Van Pran is my guy this year that I think Dallas loves. I think they love him. And I think
you love him?
Yeah, I think because he's really smart. He played at a big program. He has enough size. He's not going to be super big early, but he has a frame to build on to be strong, and he's really, really, really smart. Like, that you don't get a blitz or a twist or a stunt by him. He's a hey, this is coming. I seen this on film. He's that guy.
Oh, okay.
And I think that unless center fell a certain way where they got one early, I would say even as early as 56, Van Pran could be a pick for Dallas.
Okay. Well, I mean, if he's a good player, again, it's nothing against the player. It's just I don't want them forcing the need issue is my issue when I was doing my nightmare scenario.
Understandable.
Okay, Mike, here we are, pick 86, and my fantasy pick here is going to be Mr. Braylon Allen. Reason being is, man, I think he'd really fix our red zone issues.
Yeah, it's funny because he's trying to trim down now because he's a bigger back that doesn't really run people over, but he's very good in short spaces. But it's funny that it's his shiftiness or his ability to not let you hit him fully. It reminds me of Emmitt Smith. I am not comparing Braylon Allen and Emmitt Smith, but his ability to not get hit full on. Braylon Allen is good at that. He doesn't take full on hits. He's a big body guy that doesn't run like a big body. I wouldn't mind at 87. I think that's a good value for him.
All right, Mike, what's your fantasy pick at 87?
Malachi Corley, man. I don't think he makes it to 87, but my Lord, would I love to get him there.
I've never seen him in the third round.
Yeah, I don't, how could he? Like, the only way that works is if wide receiver is so deep that people keep going, hey, we need to get this other position here. We'll pick up wide receiver in the next round. We need to get this linebacker slim, man. Don't worry about Byron Thomas. Get Edrin Cooper. You know what? We don't have a lot of defensive tackles. Pick up Brandon Frisk. Don't grab, Pearsall. Pearsall, we can get a guy similar next round. And enough of them drop down that maybe one falls. But, I mean, it's a long shot. I think Corley will be there at 56. I don't see how he gets out of the top 70 picks.
All right, who's your realistic pick here at 87?
The running back. So Benson, Allen, Corum, Wright. I think they'll get their running back at 87. I don't have a specific one because they're all some Lloyd works, so I think they go trade back tackle. They get the injury fall guy, and then they get running back.
Well, it kind of sounds like something Cowboys would do. Give us your nightmare pick at 87.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I just think he's too small. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the length. I don't want him there. I just feel like I seen Nakobe Dean be a way better college player and not be able to do anything in the NFL. And he had way better instincts, was bigger, was a better hitter, better tackler, and he hasn't been able to do anything. Jeremiah Trotter is he has the bloodline, shout out, we the ones, but not, no, I don't want him here. I don't want another small, Marquise Bell size line. He's bigger than Marquise Bell, but you get my point.
Yeah. My nightmare pick as well, Mike, is Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I don't know much about him, but again, this was just, sticking with the Cowboys forcing the need over and over. And he always seems to be there, like in the later, like the third and sometimes even the fourth round.
I think he's a player that'll drop, and it's very possible that Eagles get him in to start a day 3 as like for the dad and everything. Hey, let him. They don't have linebackers. Why not give him a shot at his dad's, old spot?
Yeah, you read about his strengths and weaknesses, and there's not really nothing there that gets you that excited.
The way the league is shifting back to running again. If it was about smaller athletes and everything, if he came out 3-4 years ago, it'd be different. I just don't think he fits even at a will. I don't think he has the instincts or length to wrap people up or size to take on blocks. Like, nah, he's a day 3 guy, maybe a very good special teamer that you use as your third linebacker, rotation. But I don't see him as a guy who plays a lot of snaps like that.
All right, Mike, who is the best prospect you've scouted in this draft? Give us one on offense and defense.
Best prospect. Marvin Harrison Jr. I didn't even need to look that up. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the offensive guy, and Leatu Latu, the edge, would be my defensive guy. I have lost Paul. So I'm sure he has prospects as well. To go on. Marvin Harrison Jr. is easily the best player in this draft. I have no problem with people taking Malik Neighbors because he's a different type of wide receiver. He could fit them better, and he's very close tag. And then Leatu Latu is just he's such a good pass rusher, and it's not just like, he gets off and runs around you like Parsons, who's elite at it, but Parsons don't know half of what Latu did. If Parsons ever learned what Latu did, he'd be unstoppable. He'd be a 20-sack machine yearly. So our next question I'm just going to go to because I lost Paul and I want to be able to finish out for you guys. It's talking about pet cats. Obviously, if you guys don't know, Malachi Corley would be my offensive pet cat. That is clear as day. I've said it enough during this podcast. On defense, Chris Abrams-Drain, cornerback out of Missouri. I know he's not the typical size Dallas likes, but he's not small either. And he's a guy that gets his hand on the ball. And just thinking about Deron Bland, him, and Diggs, all people that intercept the ball a lot. is incredible. So that is that's a pet cat of mine because I like how he would fit in Dallas as a Jordan Lewis replacement. The next question I have on here is it says, if you could pick one player for Dallas, who would it be? Offensively, you guys know Troy Fautanu, offensive tackle from Washington. Defensively, I like Peyton Wilson. I'm willing to risk it. I don't need a linebacker to last 10 years, so I just want a great one for the next 5. Okay, we got Paul back, and we're probably going to revert back and get his answers to these questions. Paul, I went through my best prospects. I went through my pet cats, and I went through if I could pick one player. I'll just quickly say Marvin Harrison and Latu are my best scouted.
Okay.
Corley and Chris Abrams-Drain are my pet cats. Troy Fautanu and Peyton Wilson are the guys I'd pick for Dallas. The floor is yours.
Man. Okay, so I'm no scout, Mike. Mike.
My brother.
So no film grinder here, so I can't give you any scouting reports on these guys. As far as pet cat goes, offense would be Isaac Gorindo, running back out of Louisville, and then on defense, I don't know why I was having a hard time finding a pet cat on defense. So this is just a guy I read about that. Kind of sounds like something Dallas would do late in the draft just to add depth. Would be Johnny Dixon, cornerback out of Penn State.
Oh yeah, actually, he might have been drafted to us on Brugler's mock, or a mock that I saw that was a full 7 rounds had Dixon going to us.
Hey, I'll take it.
Pet cat style.
And yes, sir. And if I could pick one player for the Cowboys, offense would be Braylon Allen. And again, my DeJean for Cooper my love for Cooper DeJean knows no bounds. That's who I picked for defense, sir.
That sounds good. Yeah, your Cooper DeJean is my Malachi Corley and Troy Fautanu this draft. Those are my repeat guys over and over.
I'd be, I don't know why I didn't put him, but I would just be absolutely thrilled if we ended up taking a chance on Peyton Wilson, dude.
Oh my God, at 56, which we're about to get to something related to that.
Well, is there a player that the Cowboys could draft that would have you view them as contenders in 2024, Mike?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
No.
How bad do you think the predict this team to be?
Way too many holes. They're not going to be able to compete with San Francisco and them. No. Hell no. They have holes everywhere. They'd have to hit like on 5 guys.
Interesting. So, I mean, do you think this team is a playoff team?
Yes. Yeah, okay. They got Dak Prescott.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So that you take Dak Prescott out and put ordinary, regular quarterback. They're probably a 6-win team, 7-win team. Dak Prescott, right. I'd say they will win 10 games. He's a 4-game difference from your average quarterback.
So you kind of touched on it, though. You think we need 5 players from this draft?
3 to 5.
3 to 5 for the Cowboys to be contenders?
Yeah, because I believe if the 3 players are a left tackle, a center, and a wide receiver, well, now your offense could carry you enough to where the defense just has to be average. If the 3 players are a center, a linebacker, and a running back, then you probably need a couple more spots. Your defensive tackles are going to be bad. You probably need depth at corner and wide receiver. So, rough.
So if we ended up let's just say we trade and we acquire a 4th-round pick, and our first 4 picks were something in no certain order, but we got an edge, we got a tackle, we got a wide receiver and a running back. Would that be enough for you to be this team could be cooking with something?
No, they don't. No? They don't. Okay. They don't have enough. They don't have good enough defensive tackles to make their linebackers play well. Like Kendricks is okay. He's a solid linebacker. Damone Clark is maybe average, hopefully going into his 3rd year. And DeMarvio Omershon, even if he's a beast, is a first-year player. So, they need help up front to let those guys just run and hit instead of having to get off blocks so much And then offensively, the only way that they're going to be good enough to overcome the defense is if they load it up. They got to get 2 offensive linemen in the top 87. They got to get 2 starters, and then probably a wide receiver or running back that's a real legit, like, makes it hard to stop this offense type player.
Yeah. Well, Mike, we're not usually a show that has hot takes or does bold predictions or anything like that, but I thought it'd be fun to, because of the draft, anything can happen. I thought it'd be fun for us to give a bold prediction, a draft night edition. So give me your draft night bold prediction.
My draft night bold prediction. I've already said this before, but I'm going to put it out there because I do believe it. The injury guys, Jackson Powers-Johnson, Leatu Latu, or Peyton Wilson, one of them at least will be available at 56 for Dallas.
Oh, my God, man. That'd be insane.
At least one of them will.
That just makes me want to trade back that much even more. Like, we're to a point where it's like, man, if we can just get out of the first round and acquire 2 second rounds or, another second and another third or something, man, do that all day.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine trading back to the Commanders, 38, right? And taking Jackson Powers-Johnson and getting their 2 2s and then using those on whatever guys you have. Golly, it would be gross.
Yes,
or
sir,
even better, you go back to 38 and Kingsley Suamataia is still there. You draft him, and then with one of your 2s, Jackson Powers-Johnson falls. And you end up with Jackson Powers-Johnson and King Suamataia. Oh, my Lord.
So, do you like Jackson Powers-Johnson more than Van Pran?
Oh, yeah. I have a – Jackson Powers-Johnson is a first-round talent. He's only falling because of concussion problems. Concussion problems are going to scare people because you're a center and you're going to go hitting your head against people a lot. And so he's going to fall more than people think. There's a lot of people that are like, if Jackson Powers-Johnson's there at 24, you take him. No, you do not. That's a bad pick. And the thing is I had tried to tell people, I wasn't putting out there, but if you remember on the podcast, I was saying Dallas really isn't in on Jackson Powers-Johnson at 24. I had, the info on that early, that maybe in a trade back or something like that, but it was the medicals, the concussion stuff had kind of gotten out there enough to where I could go, don't get too connected to Jackson Powers-Johnson at 24. And that was about a month ago we were discussing that, so now people know that he's probably going to go somewhere between 40 and 60 would be my guess.
I gotcha. Well, just as I'm saying this isn't a hot take show, but I'll go a little crazy on my draft night prediction. I'll say the Minnesota Vikings trade for Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers draft J.J. McCarthy.
Dang, Harbaugh getting his guy?
Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy?
Man, and to have just imagine who'd have thought Justin Herbert would be traded. Like, man, that would be insane.
Herbert and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, dude.
Gross.
Oh my goodness. That'd be pretty gross.
Well,
Mike, man, I enjoyed the discussion, sir.
It was great, man. Good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be back. Episode 1, season 5. I can't believe it's been 5 years, sir.
Yeah, I know. How crazy. And I guess it's only fitting we did this one by ourselves. It's the anniversary, 5th year. But what an addition Brendan has been. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
Can't say enough how excellent that young man has been. He has been a pleasure to have on, and he's really helped us out in times where everybody knows medically I'm all messed up. I'm week to week. You don't know if I'm going to be here, let alone on the podcast. And then you got a family that you're going through your stuff, and he's just been able to shift in anytime we are doing a 2-man show. Hey, Mike's out, us two. Hey, Paul's out, you're hosting. Like, it's been really great.
Yeah, we're definitely miss Brendan tonight, but it is kind of fitting that it was just the 2 of us tonight. Again, can't say enough about the addition that Brendan has been to the show. Excited to see what he can do in the future, and excited to have him as part of this team.
Our next episode, we'll be talking about who Dallas drafted.
Man, I can't believe the draft is finally here.
Let's go.
Yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir.
I'm excited.
Well, Mike, I know you're excited about the draft. Of course, you're excited about this upcoming Lakers game. Before we get you out of here, remind people they can find you on X.
At CeeDee Piglet, guys. It's nice and easy, just like that. Letter C, letter D, Piglet.
Guys, I am Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we will see you guys next week.